Abdul-Kareem. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We're going to carry on. This is chapter number 7. Willie's fear, the phenomenon of true history. The phenomenon of true history. For the slave masters to justify an act of mental genocide, they realized then and now that the first casualty of a war must be the truth. This is what is referred to as shaving off the brute's mental history. The phenomena that Mr. Lynch and other slave masters feared was the so-called nigger savages' psychological reaction upon the moment of receiving the true historical revelation about themselves. This fear represents to the slave master a loss of control, major lifestyle adjustments, and the actual loss of an entire civilization that was based on superficial speculations that gave them the mental edge over the societies that make up the human population. Over the last century, we have witnessed this fear manifested in the Eurocentric man's aggression to be the center of power through dishonest media, acts of economic sanctions, and acts of physical violence on people of color. What do the so-called most powerful people on the earth fear? And have they become enslaved to the guilt produced by the lies, mistreatment, and control tactics that were used in making the African a mental slave? Since we are dissecting the powerful nature of truth, let us understand that truth is a two-edged sword that cuts the presented as well as the presenter. Therefore, in breaking the curse of Willie Lynch, the two spheres of thinking that allow this mind to exist must both face the reality of truth. Covering the sphere of mind possessed by the black man and woman of North America, there is the tremendous task of analyzing the damaged psyche that under normal circumstances would be supported by a people's mental history. After centuries of physical bondage, black people in America were left with a voided mental history as a basis to start the process of healing. In attempting to educate the black man and woman of North America, the Eurocentric educators, in most instances, have deliberately calculated a fragment of the African's history that covered our experience in this country and defined those selected events as a basis of self-knowledge for black students. The educational curriculum that is being used in the United States does not cater to the basic needs of black students in the area of reform from slavery's psychological damage. This is more noticeable in the area of unified people development. Unified people development is a concept used in the educational systems throughout the more independent nations, even though the concept may be worded differently. This concept can be defined as a system of teaching the students of a particular people to learn and apply their teachers' instructions for the betterment of their own people first, as long as they do not harm other groups of people in the progressive process. On the other side of the truth is the fear in the psyche of many Euro-ethnic students who have been fed a plate of lies about their black student peers as well as about their own history in the world, not only in the area of human accomplishment, but in the arena of civil social treatment of human beings other than themselves. This fear of truth levels the playing field in the mind of black and white students, though benefiting the total misinformed black student greatly, but not to the extent of black children educated and taught in a social environment owned and operated by a staff specializing in black child development. Since we as black people have a specific and unusual set of issues at hand, let us focus more on our half of breaking the curse of Willie Lynch's effects on the black mind, as seen by black scholars, historians, and educators. We soon become we soon became able to gauge the level of our damage not only by our lack of unity, reform, and productivity, but also based on the fearful response to black people's possible unity and self-empowerment by those who had enslaved African minds or African people. Fear is defined as a psychologically emotional reaction to the threat of pain, harm, and loss of what is deemed as mentally or physically essential to a healthy life. And a more modern explanation of the definition of fear is the undermining of common comfort by an outside power or influence. These are the thoughts harbored by those privileged whites in the higher social status and circles of socio-economic wealth that understands the true nature of the black man and woman. Due to generations of mistreatment of the descendants of the black once physical slaves, the new crop of Euro-ethnic leadership could for a while enjoy a measure of comfort, only up until the day that the black man and woman began to make contact and connection with a substantial and reasonably accurate historical foundation. Today, this body of knowledge is labeled by black people living in America as resurrection material. Information of this nature is essential to giving a people sight who were once blinded by the deceit of their oppressors, conditioning, school systems, and media. Fear tactics of Willie Lynch and those who studied and implemented his methods of control were based on a deeply embedded internal fear for their life. Their abuse of their human property caused within their own psyche layers of unstable security, which internal response created an even greater emotional need within themselves to put more fear on their already destroyed human property. It was during those moments in history that the African who was being made a slave suffered another level of psychic terror never suffered before or after on long-term scale recorded in human existence. As a reminder of what has occurred to the black family in general, we must express the level of psychological murder in the most minute detail as possible provided by the English language. Even though words don't always qualify to equate the terror, we can come close by teaching what we know of true history. These are a couple of excerpts from the historical slave making document, and we'll carry on.